Hey friends, it's me, Pastor Doug, with another word of encouragement for the day, for today, Monday, December 6th. And today's word comes out of the book of Luke, chapter 1, verses 5, 6, and 7. And in it, we continue to explore this enigmatic character of the Christmas story named John the Baptist. And in this passage, we're introduced to John the Baptist's mother and father, Zechariah and Elizabeth. Listen to what it says. In the time of Herod, king of Judea, there was a priest named Zechariah who belonged to the priestly division of Abijah. His wife Elizabeth was also a descendant of Aaron. Now listen to this. Both of them were righteous in the sight of God, observing all the Lord's commands and decrees blamelessly. But they were childless because Elizabeth was not able to conceive, and they were both very old. Now, let me stop there and kind of break this down for a moment. In the ancient world, not being able to have children was considered a disgrace, was considered a deep, deep source of disappointment. This was the way through which a family line would continue. This was the way in which families would be cared for in their old age. This is the way that families would participate in the cultural context and the social context of their tribe, of their people. And so this was a big deal for Zechariah and Elizabeth. It still can be a really big deal for people today, for sure. But in the ancient world, this was a deep, deep source of disappointment and even social disgrace. Here's what I love, though. I love the fact that Zechariah and Elizabeth did not allow their disappointment to turn into bitterness. In other words, oftentimes when we experience disappointment, right? We get disappointed with God. God, how come you didn't do this for me? God, how come you didn't fix this situation? God, how come you didn't reconcile this relationship? God, how come you didn't, resolve or restore this particular situation, right? And we often allow that disappointment to turn into bitterness and bitterness towards God, right? We're upset at God because he didn't do what we wanted him to do. That's not the case for Zechariah and Elizabeth, right? Even though they were experiencing this deep sense of disappointment and even social disgrace in that cultural context, the scripture says that they remained righteous in the sight of God. What does that mean? It means they weren't faking it until they make it, kind of a situation, right? Well, we're just going to pretend, or we're going to kind of go along, or we're going to, pretend like God has been good even though we're deeply disappointed. No, they actually took their disappointment, as real as it was, they acknowledged it, but they remained in right relationship and right standing with God. They didn't allow their deep disappointment with God to turn into bitterness. So friends, that's the question I want to ask you. What about you? Are there ways in which you are carrying a sense of disappointment towards God? Why God didn't do this or why God didn't do that? Have you allowed that disappointment to turn into bitterness? Have you allowed it to put distance between you and God? Because if we can learn something here from Zechariah and Elizabeth, they allowed their right standing with God to remain intact in spite of the disappointment that they were carrying. And in fact, God, out of that disappointment, brought something beautiful and redemptive. Friends, may God continue to birth something redemptive and beautiful out of your difficult circumstances as you continue to trust Him. That's it for today. We'll see you tomorrow.